Thank you so much, Luca. My name is Thiago, and I am a professor at the Federal University of Pelotas in the very south of Brazil, as indicated here in the map, at the Department of Museology, Conservation, and Restoration. So my presentation is ANTECIPA and the organization of heritage science webinars and workshops in Brazil, inside the theme International Networking Initiatives in the Pandemic Times, planning outreach initiatives to international institutions to strengthen the heritage science global community. ANTECIPA is the National Association for Research in Heritage Science and Technology in Brazil. And among its goals, I highlight some of them related to international networking initiatives and heritage science. The association intended to support and foster technical cooperation with organizations dedicated to research and preservation of cultural heritage in Brazil and abroad, to support and foster professional training for research and preservation of cultural heritage in the field of heritage science, to support and foster conditions for the implementation of cooperation and partnership between educational and research institutions, companies, governments, and national and international agencies dedicated to research and preservation of cultural heritage, and to represent the Brazilian technical scientific community involved in the preservation and research of cultural heritage, working with the coordinating and financing research agencies in Brazil and abroad. Based on that, in the conditions that the pandemic imposed to us and in some peculiarities from our country, we have developed initiatives to strengthen our heritage science community, also considering an international perspective. Brazil is a huge country with continental dimensions. It presents a variety of climate conditions, cultures of objects production, immaterial characteristics, and a scarce number of conservation and restoration courses marked with stars in the map, together with the absence of specific programs for heritage or conservation science training. Because of that, in the past, between 2017 and 2019, I personally had the experience in organizing remote roundtables in the project named In Debate, Conservation and Restoration in Brazil. It aimed at democratizing knowledge access and fostering cooperation among different agents involved in the preservation of cultural heritage in Brazil. In such context, we also involved guests working in other countries, but that could speak Portuguese due characteristics of our professional community. Those events were organized in a hybrid format with online and in-person participations. That activity was not involved with ANTECIPA, but the knowledge it gave to the organizers, together with the challenges that pandemic imposed to us, and the increased interest about virtual activities in that moment, motivated us in ANTECIPA to start the organization of webinars in 2020. As an important difference, we increased the participation of international institutions with the purpose of strengthening the heritage science global community. The first cycle of webinars involved the participation of researchers from Hercules Laboratory and the National Laboratory of Civil Engineering, both from Portugal. It discussed in Portuguese the necessity of knowing the objects to preserve them, what archaeometry is, microorganisms in cultural heritage, and the deterioration processes of tiles. The second cycle of webinars considered talks both in English and in Portuguese in order to stimulate a bigger international interaction. For that purpose, we offered live translations to Portuguese. This cycle was the release of the book Science and Art, The Contemporary Painted Surface. It considered speakers from France, Brazil, Portugal, Italy, Germany, and Mexico. In addition to the webinars, we organized an entire online meeting, the second ANTECIPA biennial meeting. Again, this event considered talks both in English and Portuguese with live translations. The speakers were from Italy, Portugal, United Kingdom, Brazil, United States of America, Norway, and Spain. Based on those experiences, we started to think about what could come next. The diversity and dimension of our country are important aspects to consider, and to strengthen the global community involving Brazil, we also need to keep strengthening our national network, not only in conservation science, but also in heritage science. We intend to keep doing the virtual webinars, but also promoting in-person or hybrid experimental workshops. Since Brazil is a huge country and many professionals and students cannot afford long travels, we are currently working on regional meetings that should happen biennially, intercalated to the national biennial meetings of ANTECIPA. These meetings will be organized by local organizing committees, considering virtual, in-person, or hybrid talks and workshops, depending on the public health conditions. The regional meetings aim at strengthening local and national cooperation, offering training to different professionals, and stimulating international cooperation. For that purpose, it should preferably consider local speakers, but not excluding national and international talks. We are also stimulating to offer not only hard science workshops to soft science scientists, but also soft science workshops to hard science scientists. It could discuss, for instance, cultural heritage, history of art, or conservation concepts to chemists and physicists. In the current year, because of the pandemics, the first regional meeting will happen entirely online and with all the 5 regions participating together. Each associated laboratory from ANTECIPA located in one of the 5 Brazilian regions will present their work, infrastructure, and or network. It will open space for heritage professionals to ask questions and to look for closer cooperation possibilities. Some of the already proposed workshops for the first meeting are dense stereo matching and building information modeling technologies, some experiments, basic treatment of digital images of cultural heritage using free software with color correction, and portable instrumentation applied to the study of materials for cultural heritage objects. We will also continue with workshops in 2022, integrating more and more colleagues from soft sciences and exploring more applied case studies to exemplify to heritage professionals what kind of daily problems they can solve in cooperation with scientists. As examples of workshops already proposed to 2022, we have cultural heritage and legal and scientific preservation strategies, conservation restoration theories, and materials, techniques, and preservation of wall paintings, integrating history and science. International proposals are also welcome, so please don't hesitate to propose your talk and or workshop to ANTECIPA. Questions and suggestions are also more than welcome, so thank you so much for your attention, and we are open for discussions.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Thiago. I don't see question in the question and answer window, nor in the chat, but I have one for you immediately, considering what you just presented. You may know that we opened a cooperation with Mexico involving both UNAM and INA on creating webinars under the umbrella of the E-RIHS Academy. And since you both are here in the panel, Mattia and you, I'm asking you if you are interested to create synergies between ANTECIPA and the E-RIHS Academy for having the possibility of sharing experts and material in the next seminars organized by the project. We are just doing that in next seminar. We will have participation of Mexican experts and relators. I asked Mattia to increase the number of persons in the editorial board of the project, because if we want to cooperate, it's mandatory that we have experts from Latin America and from the US. So if you're interested, I would gladly offer to participate to the project editorial board. And it's very easy. You just connect with Mattia and we start, because we are now planning for the next cycle of webinars in the project. And it could be very interesting to join the efforts to point to international cooperation.
Sure, it's a very interesting proposal, and of course that we are interested. And I think that we can say that in name of ANTECIPA also, because it's also important for the Brazilian community to make this together with other countries in Latin America. And yeah, thank you so much for that. And of course that we are interested with. And
thanks.
Yes.
Thank you, Thiago. So we slowly create, even within the difficulties of the pandemic, synergy with Latin America that is going beyond one-to-one cooperation, but is truly multilateral cooperation. I have a question also for Luis, considering the events that you showed. We need a concept to develop, at least for the moment, that we cannot move very far. I think that we need kind of Hyperion E-RIHS, E-RIHS ambassadors there. If we want to promote the networking in the events that you showed us, I don't think it's quite feasible to go there. And also there are groups where we are not introduced. So I think that we should try to have a few, 1, 2, 3 ambassadors to go there and to present the networking initiative that is now developing and our mutual connection already established, and see if we can join more institutions, more universities, more heritage institutions to the network. That I think is one of the concrete things that we can do in this period. How do you think that? Is that possible? How could we proceed to appoint ambassadors?
Well, I think this comes in a very appropriate moment. Today, for example, I was working with my colleague who is a forensic expert within the federal police, and we are finishing the program for the event. So there is still time for us to discuss, and it will be more than welcome, because this first meeting it's a very big one. It's approximately 2,500 people from all over the world, but several areas within the forensic science interact with us, with those specific aspects we deal with in terms of materials and analytical techniques and so on. So we can talk, and this can be solved this week because the meeting is very close. So we still have some spaces, and there is no problem. Actually, it's very positive that we'll open the floor to E-RIHS and to Hyperion to show. Actually, some of the Hyperion members are invited, but we can talk more about a broader vision, which is very important for this event in particular. For the other one, the CLASMAC, for sure, Marcia Risuto is here. She's a member of the organizing committee. She's on the participants. So for sure, she can discuss this as well. And for the other ones, the Luso-Brazilian as well, we can talk. I'm a member of the organizing committee, and it's going to be a very good chance to have this initiative shown to the community.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have now 2 comments in Q&A by Willie. Thank you, Willie, for your congratulations. Yeah, Latin American edition of the school. Yes, that's truly something that we can do. I was thinking that about joint events, even if you make mixed events, considering unfortunately the difference in time zones, we will have only a live window of interaction, which is limited to a couple of hours in the afternoon in Europe. And things can become more difficult if the collaboration goes on to the east. For instance, for Cyprus, it's already difficult to stay in this window because it's almost dinner time. So it's also important to keep track of what we do in terms of training modules and to have modules that can be reusable, not just live, but also reused afterwards. So real training material modules that can be originally live ones, but then can be reused at the proper time in the day. The other comment that I see is a question from Jana. Yes, it's a good idea. It's a good idea to strengthen the cooperation, not only participating to the editorial board of the project, but if you want to provide experts from Latin America to the peer review panels of the project for reviewing the proposal of access in Europe, that is possible. And we have also, yes, I think that we can do with experts in very specific field. For instance, we don't have many experts in paleontology, paleoanthropology, if I remember correct. And so I think that this is for you both. If you want to give names to the FixLab, MoLab, and AshLab coordinators, so available experts to review proposals from the access, is one each 6 months we have a call, you remember. That would be great. I see 2 hands. One is José Luis, and the other is Thiago. Is this the correct order? I think. José.
Thank you. I just want to point out that I agree that we need regional approaches, for that we have different time schedule, and it's very hard to be in touch at the same time. What we can record, and we can try to do part of the work in real time, perhaps the basic fundamentals and all these things that we can already do in our countries. And then a second part that could be more focused on specialized and high level of development of instruments and techniques and so on, that could be on your part. So this could be a good idea in making these regional groups of working. And I would like to also to stress that we already start to try to work together in Latin America. This ClassMac, that is the joint meeting of 2 of the main, let's say, meetings or congress that we have in Latin America. Now we had the idea to make it together in order to have only one big meeting with all the people that is working in the field. So this is also very important to try to join all the efforts and not to spread resources and people. Thank you.
Thank you, Luis. Now Thiago, and then.
Yes, I would like just to express a thought about a lot of different presentations we had, because we are thinking in a global perspective and different meetings. And I was thinking about increasing the communication that Yasha said, and also about that Joanne was saying about the differences in approaches of heritage and of soft scientists and hard scientists together. And I would like to highlight 3 important words, that is respect, inclusion, and communication, related to what Matija said in the beginning of his talk about soft skills. So what I was thinking is that we need to think about how we could increase our soft skills to not recognize this heterogeneity of cultures across the globe, but how can we use this to show that we have respect and to make people feel included, to make them comfortable to communicate more freely in the meetings. And I'm not saying only that inclusion means only to give opportunity to people participate in a meeting, but inclusion is about how to make people feel part of that group and feel comfortable to express themselves. So I think that we could think about this kind of soft skills, how to use this respect and show this respect to people to really make inclusion.